Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017 from the Alumni Engagement Office. And this week I am joined by Chris and Kim Dumas, class of 1993. Chris and Kim live in Rhode Island, where Chris is a dentist and Kim is a physical therapist. But today's episode will focus mostly on their Siena story, building the Siena pep band in the early 90s from the ground up, and of course being a legacy family with their son Alex. A reminder to everyone listening to us today here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint, there's a few ways to listen to the show, which is a bi-weekly podcast highlighting our Siena community. You can also tune in on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, and check out the complete video selection on our YouTube channel. Chris, happy birthday, and Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. Officially, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you.
We're doing good.
Glad to be here. Glad to promote Siena. It's always been great for us. So
great experience.
And I see that you guys, for those watching on YouTube, have all of the Siena gear on today, and a lot of Siena energy and Siena spirit. And that's really where I first met both of you down in Atlantic City this past March during the MAC Championships. During one of the pregame receptions, had the same great Siena energy as a lot of our alumni do. And at the time, we were talking about it being your 30th reunion at Siena, and you being a legacy family and supporting your son Alex, who was in the pep band. And I started to hear your story, and I was like, well, I really got to get these guys on the Saints and Alumni Show podcast. And then my good friend Kelly O'Donnell beat me to it and had you guys in the internal newsletter, The Scoop, highlighting your family. But most of our listeners don't get that. So I'm glad that you guys could be on the show today and talk about your Siena story. So before we get to you building the pep band, you having a legacy family, and celebrating all of the accomplishments of Alex, our listeners kind of want to know how you guys ended up at Siena. So Chris, can you first share a little bit on how you first found Siena and why you chose to be a Siena Saint?
It started out, I was looking for a biology school, strong biology school. I didn't want to go anyplace really huge or anything like that. At least that's what I thought. And I'd heard of Siena College at the time. The basketball team had just gone to the NCAA tournament, I think, for the first time when they played Stanford and the whole measles thing. And so I kind of heard about the school, and a friend of ours had applied. So I said, let me check this place out. Went on the tour, was blown away by the biology program. And I said, you know what, this just felt right. So that's kind of what got me there.
And you leave out a big point in that, and maybe Kim can touch on it, where you guys both met in high school, both looking maybe at Siena, maybe some influencing factors there. So Kim, for you, what was the big draw to Siena and what you wanted in a college experience?
We met in high school and started dating in senior year of high school, and we're kind of in the same group of friends. And so, like he mentioned, a friend of ours had looked at Siena. That was one of my good friend's brother. So Chris was starting to look at it more, and his other friend, I was also interested in biology, health science, and knew that they had a good program. And again, it's very similar circumstance. When we came and looked at it, it felt like the right fit. It felt like home, and knew it was going to be a good place to be and get a good education as well as a great college experience. So.
And everybody talks about visiting Siena and feeling home as soon as they step on campus as that prospective student. But you never truly know until you step on campus as a Siena Saint on that freshman move-in day. So for you, Chris, can you share a little bit about move-in day, your freshman experience? Did you choose a housemate? Kind of what was that transition like for you?
I just, I kind of just went in as, didn't have anybody specific or anything like that. And of course, back then there was no Facebook and, signing up and all that stuff. So I would just randomly put with a roommate, and my roommate, Mike Cole, and we were actually roommates for all 4 years. We were put in Plasman just randomly. And we were, great friends, right off the bat. And all my friends that, biology made were all on the same floor, Plasman East, third floor, 3 East. And, it was just, you just kind of luck of the draw, but, we pulled in. We were that car that the seniors didn't want to help unpack, and it was a huge
van.
It was a big van.
It was a van,
and moved in, and it just felt right from the people I met, from unpacking us to my roommates who turned out to be friends of ours that we still talk to 30 years later.
Mhm.
I love that you mentioned the car that nobody wanted to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was him.
I remember, so it was, I lived with my twin Andy, and we had these bookshelves that went over the desk. So they were probably, 5 feet wide by 6 or 7 feet tall. And all of these orientation leaders are carrying these bookshelves up the stairwell, kind of like the episode of Friends with the couch pivoting left and right.
Yeah, they
trying
drew
to
the
get in
short
room.
straw that day.
So a lot of stuff gets brought in, even before the people get to the room. It's a great thing that Sienna does. And so for you, Kim, can you also share about your experience? Did you go in random? Where did you live?
Yeah.
Kind of that friend group that you had as well.
Yep. I also did random, didn't know anybody, and I don't even think they had, I don't even remember if they had like interests that you filled out. I don't remember filling out a questionnaire. Maybe we did, but I don't really remember that whole thing. But funny thing is, my roommate Loren that I got paired with, we were in Plasman, so same dorm on 2nd floor, and she ended up, she was from the same town or nearby towns as Chris's roommate Mike, and they knew a lot of the same similar people. So we kind of had, so both of our roommates knew each other, had a relationship. So from there, we kind of would all hang out, and then the friend group kind of just kept expanding because everybody was bio majors. And but we had, I mean, dorm life is great. I don't think I'd want to go back to it now, but you know what? It just, you get to meet everybody, keep your doors open. You get, everybody's so friendly, and it was very welcoming. I honestly never was homesick, really. And it was a great experience. And that's without having cell phones or phones in your room. We had to go down the hall to the payphone. So yeah, you were.
I actually kind of like that a little bit better, Kim. A lot of the people, they have all the social media nowadays and all of these phones, and they kind of have these pre-friend groups before they even come into Sienna. Right. So I'm glad that you mentioned that you had to go walk around, introduce yourself to people face to face, and kind of build that person-to-person connection.
We know quite a few people too that stayed roommates for the 4 years, or if not 3. Mine, we were together 2, and then she transferred for different reasons, but it's quite a few people that just through that random pick, and Sienna did a great job at pairing people up.
There's some algorithm that we don't know about.
I don't know. They had it good. They did, great job.
And one of the friends that you had met through the years is actually a professor here at Sienna now, Dan Moriarty, who is a class of 1993 grad and the associate professor of chemistry, biochemistry, along with being the director for the Center for Undergraduate Research and Creative Activity, and a founding member of SBI, which is the Sienna Beverage Institute, which we've highlighted in past episodes on the show. And at the past Alumni Weekend in June, you both came back, celebrated your 30th college reunion, and got to see Dan again and professionally taste some wines and some liquors at Sienna. So can you talk a little bit about that first, Kim?
Sure. Yeah. We came back, and actually it was cool. Alex was still on campus because he was doing research for 5 weeks for the summer. So he was able to hang out with us, and he was legal age. So he was very excited to go to the tasting. But it was great. We, saw a few friends that from our whole bio friend group. Dave came up from New Jersey. We saw Sue, who lives around there. So we all went to the tasting together, and it was awesome to see Dan in his element. And, you think back to townhouse days and, parties at Heinz and different things, because he lived in Heinz back then. And to see where we all have come from being, random college students doing stupid things to, sitting in the room with all these different spirits or different beers, and how knowledgeable the whole group was. Like, what a great organization they have. And it was a great day, but we just couldn't do the wine because we had to split it up, because it would have been quite a day if we did all 3 of them. So we tried to pace ourselves, but I don't know.
Chris, for you, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe you were housemates at one point in time with Dan, or really, really close friends. So what was that like coming back to see him?
Yeah, really, we were really close friends. He was a couple of townhouses over and always in a different dorm, but at the time there was only Roger Bacon. So, if you were a science major, you were hung out in Roger Bacon. So you ran into all the science majors. So that's how, we became great friends with Dan through that. And to see him, and we've always kind of stayed in contact with him. his wife was roommates and best friends with my cousin's wife at the time.
It's a lot to
So it's a lot to
follow.
follow. So we got to hang with Dan even after graduation and seeing him at some different family things but to see him and the energy that he brings to Siena, the excitement that he brings from the student research program, which our son was actually part of. That's how we ended up doing some of the research through there, to the Beverage Institute, and then to see him in that element, it's just so cool to see. Yeah.
I always love getting the SBI invites. Every Wednesday they come out and they're like, "Hey, this is the next month of tastings." I'm like, "Oh, which one do I want to try out?" So I'm glad that you got to experience
It
that.
was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And we got just about 3 minutes left until we got to cut to break.
Okay.
And I know we're hitting there left and right about connections that we've made and friendships that we have, and a lot of that's going to tie in with Pep Band in that second segment. So aside from those influential moments and memories and community members, for you, Chris, was there anybody else outside of the music scene at Siena, whether it be a friar or professor, that really impacted your Siena experience?
I think especially being a biology major, the professor that probably impacted me the most, that probably, if you ask any biology major back then, was Dr. George Bazinet. He was such a passionate professor, just loved what he did and made you love it too. And even whether it was a class that you didn't like or a topic you didn't like, you still came out of there going, wow, this guy gets it. He was just absolutely loved what he did. And it made me passionate about what I wanted to do. Even though I was going into healthcare, I was going into dentistry, cell biology, love the class, just things like that. And then the others, that you see, the friars always around campus. Father Dan Nelson was hanging around with us. We'd see him all the time. Father Dennis Tamburello took his mystics class. Back, a whole bunch of us from it took that class, and it's just so nice to see it and to go back and to see them still on campus, still active and still positive. It's fantastic.
And for you, Kim, we got just about 2 minutes left until break. Yeah. Was there any influential members, that you had in your time at Siena?
I would say, very similar. Dr. Baz was favorite. all the science teachers in general, loved them all. They really were great, but he was just special. Like he said, very passionate, loved what he did and made you love it as well. But he expected a lot out of you. So, but he made it fun at the same time. And then I think the other one is Dr. Angstadt, which he was new coming in, as we took neuro from him. And so he was new to teaching. And so it's kind of cool being one of his first classes, but now Alex has taken his class as well. And so it's kind of neat to have that, continuing on, and he loved the class as well. So, and that kind of helped with my interest in physical therapy, with the neuro background, and definitely making it that was a field I wanted to go into. So.
Well, you both talk about the influential community members that you both had at your Siena experience, but you are also influential members yourselves within the Siena Pep Band community. So in the second segment, we're going to highlight that story and you being a legacy family. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017 from the Alumni Engagement Office. And this week I'm joined by Chris and Kim Dumas, class of 1993. We just wrapped up talking about a few of your Siena experiences, but we probably held out on the biggest Siena experience of all, and that is being influential members in forming the Siena College Pep Band in the early 90s. But we got to paint that story a little bit. We just don't jump right into college, play music, and have a successful pep band. There's a little bit of a process. So I think our listeners might want to know at first, for you, Chris, where did your passion for music come from? When did you first start playing music, some of those instruments in those early years, and that story for you?
I started playing saxophone back in like 5th grade. I think they had an elementary school music teacher came in, and so started playing there. Went on to our high school. It was a 7 through 12 high school, and got into that. And our band director, Mark Blanchett, was just starting out there, and such a passionate guy for music. And the music program was such an integral part of our high school that you couldn't help be a part of it. It was actually one of the biggest programs in the school. And he just kind of made it fun to play music, fun to be with the people that you played with. And the hard work that it took to become part of that team, and you you played something and you just felt proud of it after. And, you know, just going all through high school at that, I couldn't wait to continue to play, you know, and Siena didn't have that, you know, a music program, but I still never kind of lost that passion because of what he did for us through high school.
I remember when I was in, I think I might have been elementary school or middle school, and I was trying out for the band, and we had to play every single instrument. And the first one I played was the clarinet. And the music instructor was like, "Hey, that's a perfectly sounding C note." I'm like, "I have no idea what that means. I really want to play the drums." And I was like, "Hey, can I play the drums instead?" So for you, Kim, you know, how did you also get into music? You know, did you have an instrument that you really wanted to play, and some of that passion that came for you in those early years?
I started probably middle school, elementary school at some point. I'm not sure when, but play guitar, took piano lessons just because we had a piano in the basement. And so, you know, kind of did that, nothing serious. But when I got to Mount, I wasn't playing instrument that would have fit band. And so, or a concert band. And so a lot of my friends, though, were in the band. And at that time I had joined cabaret. So a lot of musicals and singing. And so I always had a passion for, you know, fine arts and that type of thing. But so as I got to see my friends in band, got to know Chris better, because they were, you know, it was a close-knit group. And I kind of wanted to be part of that because it just seemed like a lot of fun and they loved what they were doing. So I started playing the flute probably in about 8th grade, and then joined the band, the high school band, in 9th grade and started there, and was under the same director, Mark. And like he said, he's just an amazing person that made you want to be part of it. And whether you, no matter what your ability was, he embraced you and made you better. And we had a blast. We go to DC as a competitive marching band, which we had never done that before. And none of us had marched before. And, you know, it was a great experience. So it made you just want to fuel that, continue that on in college. But again, there was no formal program, but there was music ministry, which we both did, which absolutely loved doing that. So that was kind of our music at that point coming in.
And even though I hit that perfectly sounding C note, I didn't last too long in band in high school and in middle school, but I loved music. And I always say that people that grew up in the 70s and 80s had some of the best music out there. Live music, multiple instruments in a band, really influential people. So for you, Chris, you know, we have the background on how you began the passion for music, but while you were playing, did you have any people that you looked up to, any kind of music that you loved listening to over the other?
I kind of listen to, I tell people it's musical whiplash. You know, I listened to pretty much anything, but back then always been, it doesn't fit with any of the concert stuff, but I've always been a huge Parrothead, big Jimmy Buffett fan, and kind of that type of stuff. But I always liked even some of the big band stuff, the Glenn Miller Orchestra stuff, the Crooners, the Sinatras, the Sarah Vaughan, some of those. But then you can't be just good old fashioned classic rock and roll, you know, AC/DC and you know, Aerosmith and U2 and, you know, all these type of things. So if you hit shuffle on my phone, you're gonna go like from whiplash. Even up to Soundgarden and you know, 9 Inch Nails, all the way down to, you know, Mozart in some cases.
And Chris, you mentioned all of those bands, and I have a playlist on Spotify. It's called Simpler Times. It's almost all of those people that you just mentioned. It's just such good music. So I want to hear from you too, Kim. Some of your musical passions, people that you looked up to, that you tried singing like. Kind of, what was that like for you growing up?
I did meet Debbie Gibson in a concert. We had front row seats when we were about the same age playing, so that was very exciting. But I mean, no one in particular. My parents always listened to Neil Diamond growing up, so I just always, you know, that always is music I still love to listen to because it just feels like childhood. Jimmy Buffett, definitely huge fan. We've been to 1 million Buffett concerts, and I think that's just the top. That's always the best. Yeah. So, but again, I like all different kind of things. So, I don't know if there's anyone in particular, no one that really influenced when I played or anything like that, but I just like all music, really. Yep. Classic, jazz, rock, pretty much all of it. Not a country fan really, but sorry.
Well, I love country music. I won't hold that against you on this podcast. Maybe I'll bring it up when I see you at a basketball game.
All right, sounds good.
But for you, Chris, too, you mentioned in the first segment when you were looking at Siena, it was getting really big in basketball. They just beat Stanford. They had the measles outbreak, but also you mentioned that the music scene wasn't that strong yet. So first, can you share a little bit about what that music scene was like on campus and kind of what did pep band look like when you first got to Siena?
When we first got there, there really wasn't much of a music scene. There wasn't a music department. It's not like they had a band or that type of thing. So we looked into music ministry, and they even figured out a way to get a saxophone playing in some of the masses every once in a while. But then we saw something about the pep band, and it was basically a group of high school kids, and so it was basically it's Mike Patrizio, who was I think he was a shaker at the time, and I think and he had a bunch of his high school kids, and they were looking for some extra Siena students maybe to kind of make it look like a college pep band, and so we signed up, and there was maybe 6-8 of us from the school. I don't even remember how
probably about
grades.
5 high school kids or so. It was quite like it was a pretty big band, but it was it
was like a mini concert band,
yes,
with high school kids and a couple Siena people thrown thrown in, and that's what it was. We got to go to the games for free. It was at the ARC or the UHC. I don't know what they call it. What they call
UHY
it
now, yeah.
UHY,
yeah.
And they so we'd go there. We'd be on the floor. And they had the version of the Rowdies at the I think it was the Rowdies at the time versus the Dog Pound, and it was so we'd go and we'd just play music and kind of try to look like the bands we'd see on TV from the big Division I schools,
And I want to cut now to 1992 and jump ahead just a little bit for when that meeting with John Dargenio first happened. And I think it was his first week as athletic director. There were some discussions about maybe going to a DJ, maybe staying with a pep band. So Chris, can you first share why the students felt passionately enough to meet with John Dargenio? And then Kim, can you talk a little bit about what were those next steps after you met with John to make sure that pep band was going to stay successful? Chris?
Well, the first thing we heard that they were thinking of that they were going to eliminate the band, and Mike had said, yeah, they don't want us anymore. So the pep band's kind of done. So we said, well, we can't be a Division I basketball team. We've gone to the tournament. We've gone to some of the NIT type tournaments then, and we can't have something. So me, Kim, Michelle, our friend Michelle Tornall, Cameron Hunt, Dan's wife, and another freshman, Paul. So we had 4 seniors and Paul, and we said we're gonna go knock on this guy's door and say, hey, we gotta have something. So we walked to the Mac, the new Mac, and brand new office and brand new. I guess it's 30 years old now, but brand new. And we said, we'd like to have a meeting with the athletic director about the pep band. And somehow we got in, and we sat down with him, and we said we want to run the pep band, and he said no, we're gonna have a DJ. We said no, we want to do it, all Siena students. And he said fine, you guys figure out a way to run it, and you guys are gonna do the men's games and the women's games. We said perfect, and he said okay.
So Kim, when he's in that meeting and he says, you guys got to figure out a way to run this thing, what did that look like? Did you have a budget? Did you have instruments? What was that first year like?
I don't know. I think we left there and we all looked at each other going, all right, now what are we going to do? But we were told we had a $250 budget, and basically, here you go. We'll get you some shirts, and you got to figure it out yourself. So you had to have your own instrument, which the people we found, we had a drummer who had a set. We had, so there's probably 8, maybe.
I think we got up to 10, about 12 maybe by the time we're said and done.
Yeah, and so we would, Mike, the previous director, he had helped us with where he had the music. So we were able to pay him to get some of the rights to the music because we didn't have music. And so then we would meet usually in Plasman downstairs in the lounge and practice there maybe once a week, or in the ARC in one of the closets, the storage closets in the back. We would do that. And you and I, Chris and I would basically be the ones kind of figuring out what's our order. Okay, let's, try to make everybody sound better. At the time I had played flute, but we needed much more volume since there weren't many. So I picked up one of his saxophones and kind of figure that out over the year. And we had a tambourine, we had flutes, a couple saxophones. So we had a decent trumpet, I think.
Yeah, enough to be loud and sound like a band, and we could play them. You know, we could play Tequila, and we could play, you know, Saints Go Marching In, and we could play all the stuff that we had to play.
I think the hard thing was the women's game were much quieter, and so we found out quickly when you yell at the refs loud, they hear you very easily down on the floor. So that we kind of had to figure out over time. But no, it was, so we got our shirts, and they were these ugly green shirts with an S that looked like Superman. And Alumni felt bad for us after a game or two, and they came up and they said, we're giving you money, or we're going to buy you new shirts. And so we had these rugbies all stitched, embroidered, and we were looking good after that. So
you got to love the alumni community that we have at Siena.
Yeah.
It's just the best, and all the support that we have. And we got just about 3.5 minutes left until we have to end today's show. I know it goes by so quickly, but I do want to touch on these last two questions because I think they're really great to share with the community. And that's really being a legacy family at Siena. So Chris, can you first share about how your son Alex ended up at Siena, but then that really cool story on how he actually ended up joining the Siena Pep Band?
Yeah, so he didn't want to apply to Siena because we went there, and he wanted to kind of forge his own road, but we said, you have to. So he applied, and you know, as he applied to the different schools, he was that COVID year of 2020. As he applied to different schools, Siena never left the list. It kept rising on the list. And whenever we'd come on campus for a tour, like we talked about before, it felt like you could see the smile on his face. Anyway, as much as he didn't want it, it did. So, you know, his freshman year was, you know, on campus, but there wasn't much going on. So our sophomore year, I'm dropping him off, and we get there the day early. So him and I go play golf, and they pair us with this gentleman, and we're on the first hole. And, you know, I asked him, you know, do you play here? Yeah, I'm from the area. And he asked why. We're there. Tell him we're going to dropping Alex off at Siena. He goes, oh, my son works at Siena. Oh, what's he do? And he goes, oh, he works in the athletic department. Oh, that's cool. I'm thinking he's a coach or whatever. He goes, no, it's Chris. He runs the pep band. And I said, well, I think I kind of helped start the pep band.
Yeah.
And Alex goes, I was going to join the pep band. So by the time we're on the second hole, Alex is already texting Chris. Kim's at home. She's looking up. Alex didn't have a saxophone. She's looking up at the used saxophones at the music store. And the next day we moved him in, and he went and found Chris at one of the first tables, and he's been stuck helping him out ever since. Yeah.
Basically, the rest is history, and it goes by in a blink of an eye. And it's hard to believe, probably for your family, that Alex is going to be a senior here at Siena this year.
Yep.
Kim, can you share a little bit about what it's like to see your son grow at Siena, and what you're looking forward to as a family his senior year, and what's next for Alex?
Oh, it's been so exciting because we picture us back in that time, and we know how we experienced it and the things we loved about Siena, but to see him mature has been amazing. He has really done so well in school, and he's just happy. He really loves it there. And it's nice to see his experiences of, you know, now he's going to have a townhouse for next year. And, you know, we think back to our time there. So, so looking forward to this coming year. I mean, we're so excited to go back and tailgate in the townhouses first of all, which we never did that with the family. So, you know, definitely coming back for Atlantic City and hopefully Saratoga. They're playing. Well, we got our tickets. So yeah, we are going to Saratoga. And just coming back and you know, coming back home to Siena. So yep. And yeah, Alex is looking on to grad school now, continuing on for PhD in biology, molecular probably, and research. So
well, it's so great to hear your story of Alex and Kim. Maybe Alex, we'll have him on the podcast one of these days after he gets his grad degree. And maybe get you two back on with them. Chris and Kim, thanks so much for sharing your Siena story today. Happy birthday again, Chris. Hopefully I see you guys back at mini basketball games and back down in Atlantic City in the springtime. To everyone listening today, thank you for joining in. We'll see you next time right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint.